Hi there, my name is Daniel Gorin, and today we'll be talking about BP's triple bottom line approach to a new sustainability management program. BP is a multinational oil and gas company based in the UK with a history of challenges, including environmental disasters, heavy reliance on fossil fuels, and reputational risks associated with greenwashing. BP's carbon footprint data highlights the urgency for this change, as the company is a significant emitter of greenhouse gases. And in the recent years, it's been trending in the wrong direction. The management program we'll talk about today is a triple bottom line, meaning there's three key areas: people, or social sustainability; planet, or environmental sustainability; and profit, which is financial sustainability. Ultimately, the long-term goal is aimed at ensuring BP's long-term profitability while mitigating negative environmental and social impacts. Since 2010, the company has been haunted by the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill. This was one of the largest oil spills in history and has had a significant impact on the ecosystem in the Gulf of Mexico. The long-term environmental impact on marine life can be seen 14 years later. After almost 5 million barrels poured into the Gulf, local economies along the coast, which were centered around fishing and tourism, have been negatively affected ever since. The reparations paid and multi-billion dollar settlements took a toll on shareholder value. Mitigations such as enhanced data collection, monitoring equipment, and automation have to be implemented and go above and beyond the enforced governmental regulations. The Bureau of Ocean Energy Management is responsible for enforcing this new protocol, but ultimately it is BP's corporate responsibility to ensure all drilling is conducted with care and the utmost caution. Ultimately, the stakeholders' long-term investment in the company depends on it. Another significant environmental sustainability issue has been BP's slow and inconsistent transition away from fossil fuels. Oil and gas is the core of its business model, and it has been for decades. But with an evolving geopolitical landscape and external pressures, BP has to find a way to decarbonize energy. The COVID-19 pandemic decreased the demand for oil, and the biggest industry affected during this was the aviation sector. Demand dropped by almost 50%, and in the years since, the rebound has also brought about decarbonization and new research and development brought into the aviation industry. One such emerging technology is SAF, a sustainable liquid jet fuel that provides an alternative to conventional fuels. The advancements in propulsion have to be mirrored by BP in developing a sustainable bio-based or fully synthetic liquid fuel. As we completed a carbon footprint calculation, it is evident that the measures BP is taking is not exactly on the path to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050 like they claim. As seen below, here in the figure, you can see the scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions in the comparison between 2022 and 2023 based on their sustainability report. So looking at the largest emissions, which is scope 3, it has actually increased from 307 to 315 metric tons of CO2 emitted. That's a rise in 2.6%. Their sustainability report indicates this 8 metric ton carbon dioxide emitted increase in scope 3 is the result of ramping up production and increasing the scope of projects. Unfortunately, many of these projects are environmentally sensitive areas, such as the Arctic. If the BP leadership is making public claims to be on a trajectory towards carbon neutrality, it has to exemplify claims with actionable progress. Now let's look at the example if BP were to convert to sustainable fuels, such as the synthetic aviation fuel. As of now, they produce approximately 1.1 million barrels of oil per day. Now the carbon emissions from that oil per barrel is approximately 0.43 tons of carbon dioxide. We multiply that over 365 days, it's approximately 172 metric tons of carbon dioxide. Now, on average, approximately 7.8% of the world's oil supply is bought and used by the aviation industry. If we take that math and relay it to BP's production numbers, that's approximately 85,000 barrels a day that's going towards aviation fuel. Now, if BP was to conduct more research and development into SAF or synthetic bio-based jet fuel, if we were to eliminate 85,800 barrels per day, we'd be saving approximately 13 and a half metric tons of carbon dioxide emitted. Next, we'll talk about social sustainability, or the people pillar. The effect of the BP projects on local communities around the globe has taken a considerable toll. One example is the exploitation of the resources at the Niger Delta. In conjunction with the Nigerian government, BP has faced significant criticism for extracting oil, which has also resulted in damaged habitats, socio-political instability, and overall negative community relations. There's been a rising of tensions with militant groups gaining support as they're targeting oil infrastructure in this region. There is significant demand for compensation for the profits generated from extracting the resources here. For a company like BP, sustainability is more than energy transition. It has to encompass social justice and equity through community engagement. For a multinational company, gaining support from local communities prior to harvesting the resources in their local regions is critical in building a stronger reputation. Ecological conservation, at least minimizing the impact upon local communities, has to be a priority moving forward. Let's talk about the third and final pillar of our triple bottom line approach, profit, financial sustainability. Ultimately, the stakeholder is heavily invested in the financial success of the company. The ultimate goal of implementing such a sustainability program like we're talking about today is the long-term financial viability of BP. First, we must identify the stakeholders and how they impact the company. So the stakeholders include shareholders and institutional investors. So they have significant buy-in as they're interested in the strong financial performance of BP. Developing alternative solutions to fossil fuels, such as the synthetic jet fuel that we spoke about on the previous slides, can boost the company value, and BP can be at the forefront of the energy transition for the aviation industry. There's the employees, the engineers, staff, administration folks, the management personnel. Ultimately, the workforce at BP rely on good wages and diversity and inclusivity for a positive working environment. Transparency in the work-life balance plays into the overall reputation of the company as a whole. There's the customers, the clients, governments, and individual consumers. A lot of those scope 3 emissions that we spoke about is through the consumption of the fuels by customers that BP is producing. The customer is heavily invested in BP's performance to provide affordable energy solutions to lower their costs and boost those profits. There's the supply chain. Suppliers and contractors provide equipment and supplies that BP's operations are dependent on. Finally, there's non-governmental organizations and media. They are there so the NGOs are there to monitor the adherence to clean environmental standards and reduced ecological impact, in addition to minimizing the impacts on local communities around the world. The media provides an outlet to portray company policies to the public, whether it's for better or for worse, such as the environmental disaster seen in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. This is a huge factor in shaping the public image and reputation of BP, which can quickly sway stock prices and investors' confidence in the company. Now that we brought up all three pillars of the sustainability management program today, let's talk about how to implement this. BP has to commit to sustainability in all three facets in order to solidify itself as a leader in the energy industry. Not only do they need to commit company operations to improve practices but there has to be accurate data collection and transparency in reporting so that the stakeholder and the public as a whole understands the progress the BP is making. Data collection is the basis for all these performance assessments and the sustainability reports that third-party agencies come through with. Carbon footprint calculators and improved energy management software can track energy usage, carbon emissions, and many other metrics. Sensors across infrastructure, equipment, offices, and transportation methods can utilize Internet of Things and other emerging technologies for real-time collection and monitoring all the emissions and energy consumption. All this data can then be consolidated into effective sustainability reporting. Communicating progress in ESG, environmental, social, and governance principles with a third-party assessor provides an honest and transparent assessment to the public. Using the Global Reporting Initiative GRI framework can provide company efficacy in employing ESG principles. As seen in their 2023 sustainability report that we have referenced today, it is critical to monitor the progress year over year. Metrics and sustainable practices have to be prioritized and implemented into the whole corporate strategy. With a top-down commitment from the executive leadership, an establishment of defined KPIs, and a clear institution of priorities, BP can build itself as a sustainable business model moving forward that will turn it into an energy giant while achieving long-term financial success. These are the references used. Thank you for listening.